We are in Andalusia, south of Spain.
Today we are on a journey to find the clues and elements of Arab influence in what is the modern Spanish culture. As we land on Spain, we'll head straight to Granada. This was the capital of the last caliphate in Spain and is one of the most fascinating cities in Europe.
Dove siamo,
Così,
papà?
siamo alla Alhambra.
Which is the palace of the last emirs here in Spain. This is one of the most visited sites in the whole of Spain. We are going to visit the Alcazaba behind me, which is the castle. Then we're going to the gardens and then the main palace.
A gigantic castle/residence, which was the residence of the last emirs of Granada until 1492. South of Spain, and in particular the southern region and the southern provinces of Granada, has been under Spain and Christian rule since 1492. We're talking about roughly 500 years. But that comes after 800 years of Arab influence, which can't go unnoticed.
We are at Al Baisin, which is the ancient Arab quarter. It's actually up on a hill and it's all uphill.
The Church of San Gregorio Betico is one of the most remarkable in Albaicin. Here, the local nuns dedicate their entire life to pray in the church, day and night.
We are in Sacromonte, which is just outside walls and is the gypsy quarter.
Most of the houses in Sacromonte are carved into the caves. It looks like the caves started to be populated in the 16th century, when the Moors and the Jews were expelled from their houses. They were joined by the gypsies that just arrived. As a result, the caves were home to the outcasts in Granada, outside the city walls.
So the name gypsy is very related and comes from Egypt. However, studies about the language indicates that the gypsies, it's a population that originates from Punjab in North India. And during the medieval times, they started to move west, in Persia, in Egypt, and then in Europe. They were allowed to enter and settle in Spain after the Reconquista.
And from the caves of Sacromonte, we can hear the melody of the local music.
Flamenco originates from the medieval times, after the years of the Reconquista. And populations like the Arabs, the Moors, the Jewish, and the Gypsy were kind of sharing a sense of insecurity, instability, fear for what's going to happen, as well as pride and hope for the life. Listening to flamenco, it's easy to identify sounds and melodies that kind of have some similarity with the Arab and the Indian music. Like an example, hand clapping, which is very typical of North Africa, or the use of the guitar, which is also an Arab tradition.
Bianca loved flamenco. She was completely hypnotized to the extent that she wants to become a flamenco dancer when she grows up.
magari poi ci facciamo un selfie, vero? Che Orlando è a un'altezza umana.
Esatto, volevo vedere adesso che Orlando oggi è più visibile.
This is the Cathedral of Granada, which was built after the city was reconquered by the Christian kings. Now let's go and check how it is.
During our stay, we also noticed clues of a strong Christian passion. We noticed that one obviously in the preparation for Easter, and this is maybe due to the fact that the Christians here had to really fight hard to reconquer the land and their faith from the Arabs. And this is still fresh in the memories probably, despite 5 centuries has elapsed.
So just in case you didn't know, the word Granada means pomegranate, and today we've done lots of pomegranate hunting with the little ones.
We've done a tapas tour with Gales, who's a Scottish lady that has been living in Spain for over 20 years now.
Okay, hello! So this morning we went to have second breakfast, Spanish style. Then we went to a jamón shop and we had some pata negra and we took some cheese. After that we went for a little walk and went down to our first tapa bar, which had a tapa competition and it was delicious. And then we went to a second bar and we went to a very old school place that I used to go to when I was a student. And we finished our tour today. We went to a lovely cafe bar and had a pio nono, which is a delicious little Granada treat. A lot of Granada's food, as in all of Andalusia, has a very sweet flavour to it. It has sultanas or raisins and lots of honey is used, and this is because in the Moorish days they used to use a lot of these products, dried fruit as well, and also the words, lots of the language, so albondigas meaning meatballs. The al word comes from the old Arabic, as does azúcar, which is sugar.
Another characteristic of Granada are the Teterias, i.e. the tea house, like this one, which are another legacy of the Arab period.
We went from Granada to Cordoba and we've been driving through all these very nice hills full of olive trees.
We are at the Alcalá la Real, which is a city fortress built on what was the border between the Kingdom of Castilla and the Kingdom of Granada. We are in the middle of Andalusia and all the hills around are covered with olive trees.
We're in Cordoba and the sun is shining.
Cordoba, during the Islamic period, was one of the main Islamic cities alongside Damascus and Baghdad, and was probably one of the richest cities in Europe, not only economically but also culturally.
The center of Cordoba has all these very narrow aisles and little streets that are typical to the Arab towns.
So this is salmorejo, which is a typical dish here in Cordoba, and it's a dish based on tomatoes. As you can see, there is also ham and an egg. But the interesting characteristic of this dish is that it kind of like, you know, got different influence. It's driven by the different population have been living in this place.
So Cordoba is smaller than Granada, which make it a bit more comfortable to kind of like, you know, walk around. And it's been very nice to have a day and a half of sun.
The Mezquita is one of the religious buildings that really impressed me the most. It's a mosque converted to a cathedral. The Christians essentially built a church in the middle of the mosque, but kept all the beautiful features of this Islamic architecture. Like these arches, the colors, or like like a kind of the gold and the incredible patterns that are typical of Islamic architecture are all there. Even if the Christians wanted to convert to a cathedral, they probably realized that what they had, the mosque, was so beautiful that they didn't want to destroy and replace with different artifacts, but they kept most of it.
It's a little bit like this. I like it.
We are in the courtyard just in front of Mezquita, which used to be used for ablution, where now is Orange Garden.
Another important community that influenced the history of Spain are the Jews. They flourished under Arab domination. Usually they had really important position within the society. Cordoba, you can find still like a Jewish quarter called the Juderia. And within that one, the Jews, before leaving Cordoba, they kind of closed and encapsulated a small synagogue, which essentially got unnoticed for centuries, and only recently has been uncovered and essentially can be seen now today.
So this is the last stop of our tour, and this is Ronda, very famous for the new bridge.
We are just underneath the Puente Nueve, the new bridge, and it's with an amazing view on the gorge and the river underneath.
Ronda. It's not only an incredibly unique and picturesque city, very famous for the bridge and like all the photos that can be taken, but it's also famous and important, as we understand, for the bullfighting tradition, which is one of the most important in Spain.
This has been a very challenging trip, mainly because of the kids. I mean, it's been great. We had a great moment, but we ended up kind of like, coming back with souvenirs, the likes of paracetamol, ibuprofen, because as you know, the kids are tiny and especially the London doesn't speak. So it has been tiring, but we saw beautiful things.
The journey was tough, physically. Bad weather, and obviously we had to carry our kids quite uphill and downhill because we wanted to see a few things. But it was also very rewarding from a cultural point of view. Andalusia is one of the most beautiful regions in Europe. It's beyond doubt that elements of the Arab tradition in the music, in the food, in the architecture, in the language, has kind of now flowed into what is the DNA of modern day Spanish culture.